Hello, and welcome to a commentated speedrun of Deltarune. Deltarune is not officially fully out. It's a demo, though, that is pretty large, so gets a lot of speedrun activity, and this one is going to be, hopefully, a run that helps you explain, helps you understand everything that goes on. New Game Plus involves this title screen right here. Usually the first time you ever boot up the game, it goes straight into the game. New Game Plus doesn't see this. New Game Plus adds an extra thing that I'm going to get into when it happens, which is about a minute in. So for now, I'm just going to get started, which is on the confirm button right here. Japanese saves a little time, so you might not be able to read it unless you can read Japanese. But right here is when the timer starts. Immediately, we have a cutscene that's literally just like a minute of mashing, and we can't really do much about it. Um, there's one point of the cutscene that I'm gonna have to keep in mind, though. There's technically two, but I say one. One of them is at the end of our little creation here, our physical creation. We have to press a direction to say yes. The other one is going to be after I answer all of these questions. I'm going to be asked about name. Now, you have to not only name the vessel, but also name yourself as the creator of the vessel. If you name yourself and your vessel, like if you name your vessel and the creator the same thing, you get extra dialogue boxes, which is why you saw me do some different movement to not have to do the same dialogue boxes. So at the end of this cutscene, we wake up in our home. New Game Plus, usually if you remember this game, you have to go to the school and do a long introduction. New Game Plus, we can immediately just go into the bed here, and it'll send us to the Dark World. As soon as we get in the Dark World, we're going to mash our directional buttons to wake up faster, and then grab that item I just got there. That item is called the Wrist Protector, and it protects your wrists by making C, which is your default menu button, your insta-text mash button. It's still going to be slightly faster to mash text, like slightly spam Z and enter while holding C, but it's really helpful. But also movement is a big part, so you see me actually not using diagonals as much as you'd think diagonals would be good in this game, and that's because whenever I, like, bump into the side of a wall or something, I end up, like, having to re-get run speed. There are different run speeds that you can have by moving for certain amounts of time, and so I don't want to hit any walls ever. Like, I will make sharper turns instead of using diagonals just to sacrifice not having to hit walls, which is the best thing you can do. At this point, we're going to get attacked by this character here, which we can't see yet. It's a silhouette. We'll learn that character's identity soon. Meanwhile, though, I'm just going to be running here. If I get hit by any of these spades, I do lose health, and the game pauses for a little bit. Health is not actually that bad, but obviously I don't want to stop running at all, because that's slower in terms of movement. So getting hit is bad. I didn't get hit there, or I did get hit once, unfortunately. I don't know why I said I didn't get hit. I was thinking in my head, I didn't get hit there. I don't have to worry about this portion. I don't think the game slows this down if you get hit, so... I mean, it's good not to die. In most cases. We'll get to that. Here, after a little bit, we'll wake up at the bottom of this, and we'll be able to enter the castle. Here, I gotta make sure I'm holding to the right, because we can watch a story cutscene. However, if we hold right, we can choose not to watch it. So, it's the faster option. And then we meet Lancer, who's kind of an antagonist. After a little bit of talking to Lancer, we're going to get into a fight, where we're going to learn the basic fighting mechanics. I already messed this up, but if you can hit Lancer perfectly within, or you can hit your little rectangle thingy you see there perfectly within that bar on the left side of the bar, the attack bar, you get a kind of critical type thing, which if you played Undertale is kind of like a gold attack when you hit the middle of that game's attack bar. If I were to get 3 of those in a row on this fight, which is pretty challenging to do, I would only have 3 turns on that fight. However, I missed it, so I took the slower strat, which is just to spam and finish the fight in 4 turns. There is no backup. It legitimately has to be, you have to hit 3 perfect hits, or else you don't get that. Also, you might have noticed I forced Susie, which is our second character. I never mentioned the characters' names. This first character here is named Chris. I forced Susie to take a lot of damage whenever possible. I need Susie to die in a later fight, so I just want her to take as much damage as possible before that, because she won't die in one turn at full health. Getting into the fields now from the castle town, we're gonna have our first encounters in the game. Similar to Earthbound, I guess is a good example. These encounters are all, like, overworld-based, so you can see them coming at you on the overworld, and they're all set, actually, so we can find ways to skip them. So you saw those first two encounters there with these Rudens, is what they're called. I managed to, like, hang onto the bottom of the screen without bumping into the wall to lose my run speed, and I was able to not have to fight any of the Rudens, which is good. Here we're gonna be forced to fight Hathies. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do an act here to make them all... Okay, so there's a lot that goes into this fight. So that was frame perfect right there. I'm gonna explain. So, what I want to do is I want to act to get them all spareable, and then I want to grind on the edge of their attacks, because that makes the attacks finish faster. And then after that, I want to, take damage at the end of the attack, because if I do it not framed perfectly, Lancer won't, like, intervene in the middle after the first attack to ask why I'm not getting beaten up. And then I only want to spare one Hathi on turn 2, so that they do the circle attack again, instead of a longer attack that you can't speed up. And then I can spare the other 2. Really, if you just want to stall a turn, defending is the best possible option. And then I want to actually hit this clock to do the puzzle. I need Susie back with us, though, to actually complete that puzzle. And then there's this little checker guy here, which I can spam fight to defeat. Coming up, we have another set of enemies. We're going to have the Jigsaw Rees after this small cutscene with Susie and Lancer. At the start of this fight, I'm going to defend twice and just let Susie take one out. And then after this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually try and fight one. This is because I can take one out and then have Susie. Susie's mechanic is that she always fights, and she'll always attack the enemy on the bottom, or on the top, my bad. So I want to do enough damage to the second one on turn 2 to, get it to run away, so that Susie will attack the third one, and Susie does enough damage to instantly make those things run away. Here, this is a really hard Ruden skip, like that, perfect, and we're into the checkerboard. So yeah, that's like one of the hardest encounter skips in the whole run. We have some of the other hardest ones, though, in the checkerboard, the first one being this Pawn Man, and we got it. I bumped a corner there, so it was kind of scary looking, but I knew I was gonna get it. I have to kind of know how the hitboxes work in this section to not bump into all the walls. And then here we get another cutscene with Lancer. Character development, you know it's important. We get to choose a team name here. The fastest one to choose, I'm sorry for all of those who like the Fun Gang, or the Swear Word Squad, but the fastest one to choose here is actually the Lancer Fun Club. I don't remember the name of it. These flashing tiles actually are supposed to send you backwards, but for some reason, if you just hold right on that last set of flashing tiles, you won't get sent backwards. And that's the second Pawn Man skip. Both of those together to do in a run can be pretty tricky, so glad I got it. But coming up, we're on, I guess you could call it a boss, kind of a mini-boss type thing. I'm going to call this thing a boss. This is going to be K round. So we saw C round, which is the small checker here, earlier. And now we're going to see K round. K round can't die. So we're just going to do the 5-turn bowing strat to spare K round. Since K round can't die, we don't want to deal with Susie attacking him after every turn. So we're going to hope for the 1 in 3 chance that K round decides to target Susie, which you can tell by the character that isn't, like, dull on the left. Unfortunately, we're not getting lucky. We might see... Okay, no. K-Round just really wants Ralze dead today. Yeah, if Susie dies in this fight, you don't have to watch her animation of her attacking after every turn. So it's faster, but again, it's a 1 in 3 chance that K-Round will target Susie on any given turn, and even then, it only saves time if you get targeted on turn 1 or 2. If you do it on turn 3 or 4, like, while Susie's still alive, it's not faster in any way. You don't save any time over normal because of how that fight works. But after K-Round, you get sent to the forest. Here, if I turn around quickly, I can kind of juke out the bunny and do a encounter skip. There's going to be another Rabbit right down here that I can do it on as well. I just have to get over there after that cutscene. Like that. So that's really the only Rabbits that we really have a chance of fighting in the run. This part's kind of silly. There's a very small chance here that I can... Okay, it didn't happen. You can kind of sometimes... those diamonds have individual hitboxes, and your soul hitbox is pretty small. You can sometimes just run right through those things. Because the soul was the only part of you in those sections that actually has a hitbox. There's a Bloxer right here. We're going to skip fighting it by just running down there so it doesn't see us. And then coming up, we have a mini-boss. I'm going to do this puzzle because I need to get through. And now we have our mini-boss. Funnily enough, Ralze actually makes a manual for us if we don't do the tutorial. And so, with that manual, if we actually use it twice on this fight with Chris, we can spare Clover, that mini-boss, faster than any other possible way of doing it in the game. Coming up next is one of the hardest encounter skips. I got it. That is Bloxer 1. The first Bloxer that you see, we don't really talk about it because it's kind of free, but that one is not as free. However, because I actually got that skip, one Bloxer later in the run is going to be much more aggressive. So I'm going to need to do a slightly lower strat to skip it. Obviously, doing both of the skip strats is faster than doing one of the fights. Here I need to make a death machine for the other two, for Susie and Lancer. So I'm going to do that. And we're going to keep on moving. At this point, I've done some damage boosts to where I will die if I hit one of these things. If you get hit by overworld hazards and one of your characters is I'm not dead somehow, I thought I was going to die. And one of your characters is at 1 HP, but the other one still has health to it, you will just stay at 1 HP until all your characters are low enough to health to where they die to getting hit by something. Here in the forest maze, we want to go whichever way that Lancer doesn't move, and soon enough we're going to join Susie, who is also going to go the wrong way. So we're going to want to go the way that neither of them move. Coming up, we're going to have our second Bloxer that I talked about right up here. I'm going to do the second skip. If I wait until he's all the way to the left there, he won't be able to reach me. And then we can keep moving through the forest. Coming up, we're going to take... This is like one of 2 safety heals I do in the run. And then we're going to get on the fight with Susie and Lancer. What we want to do here is try and convince Lancer to stop fighting, but Susie won't let us end the fight while she's awake. So after 2 turns, she sleeps for 3 turns. Or 2 or 3, I'm not quite sure how it works. But after 2 turns of talking to Lancer, I'm going to make Susie fall asleep. If I do it on turn 1 or 2, make her fall asleep, I can't end the fight after talking to him 4 times because she'll wake back up. And I can technically do 3 turns on Lancer, and then 1 on Susie, and then 1 on Lancer. But if you let Susie be awake for 3 turns, instead of 2, you have to deal with a slightly longer attack on turn 3. So it's just better to get her asleep after turn 2. But then after that, we get to the late portion of the forest. We're going to be walking through here. There's just going to be a lot of cutscene, and generally not a lot happening. You know, character development. I've talked about it. Undertale, Deltarune, they're both good at that. So, we're going to keep walking. Despite the weird-looking way of the path, I can actually just walk perfectly right here and maintain perfect sprint speed. So that's not a problem. And then right here, Lancer's going to run away, which is going to make Susie run away, which is going to make Rose run away. And as soon as they all run away, I'm going to get ambushed. So this is kind of similar to the beginning of the game. I don't want to get hit because then I'll pause for a little bit to have an attack animation happen, and that's slow. So not getting hit is good. That one's actually harder to not get hit on. I think it's supposed to be, but I actually have an easier time with that one than the early game one. And then that ending screen is just actually super easy. And here we're going to get absolutely beamed. There we go. Okay, so here what's interesting is we're supposed to originally talk to everything in this room and then talk to Rose. However, the game has a weird counter, so what I do instead is I'll talk to the crack in the wall twice, because that has a pretty short amount of text, and then I'll talk to the shackle, and that actually is faster than talking to the moss. And we could technically talk to the crack in the wall 3 times, however, we are going to want to talk to the shackle because we can collect it and use it as an item soon. So, now we have a very long cutscene. After I kind of guided Susie through a puzzle that you saw me do, it was in Japanese, so it was kind of weird, but I was choosing menu stuff and stuff was appearing on the puzzles. We have a long cutscene. We're gonna have a fight that's basically a cutscene because Susie is forced to fight, so she will attack every turn. That kind of serves as a... yeah, it's a battle that basically is a cutscene here. A game people like to play here is to see how much TP they can get. I never explained TP, I can explain that now. TP is the thing you see on the left. I get it every time I deal damage, and the better I get, like a close to a golden hit, the better the damage the more TP I get. I also get it if I defend, or if I get close to enemy attacks, like that. I can't get them while I have invincibility frames, though. They're not really important because both of Rose's spells, Pacify and Heal Prayer. Heal Prayer can be useful if you really need a heal for some reason, which you shouldn't. But Pacify is literally a way to spare enemies that we never use, because, like, we don't really fight anything, except for stuff that is required to fight. You can't really pacify that stuff, or if you can, there's usually faster ways to do the fights. So, cutscene with Lancer's almost over here. There we go. Well, not the cutscene, but the fight. And now we're gonna have more dialogue. We're gonna be able to play the game for a tiny bit now. After this cutscene, we're gonna be able to walk like 2 screens. Into the elevator, which is where we want to be. We're gonna have another cutscene in the elevator. This is the cutscene split, really, the prison escape split that I have here. It's the cutscene split. This is just one more cutscene about the story of the game and stuff, you know. Okay, I don't even know what I just did there. I somehow open the menu. But Susie's going to join our party for real, I think it's gonna say. And then we're gonna get into Card Castle, which is kind of our end goal. So in Card Castle, there's 2 encounters that we can skip. One of them I skip like this. I reload the screen to unaggro him so I can get him caught on the wall easier. There is a faster strat, but I'm not doing it. The other thing we have to do here is deal with Rule's card, who is the world's puzzle master, I guess. They're not hard puzzles. This skip is near impossible. And as such, I don't usually go for it. So, yeah, that was an attempt at what's called Head Happy skip, where you skip this enemy called Head Happy. What I'm going to try and do with the Head Happy fight is I'm going to try and spare the top 2 while Susie attacks the bottom 2. My input didn't go through there, because this is a game, I guess. But, like, if I get 2 critical hits with Susie, I actually do enough damage to, what's it called? I actually do enough damage to do that fight in 2 turns instead of 3. There's another puzzle with Rule's card, and now we're going to be heading up to a kind of boss fight. I took a lot of damage on Head Happy, so I'm actually going to take a safety save here, which I don't usually do. And then I'm going to buy the Brave Axe, and then I'm not only going to equip that to up Susie's attack for the upcoming fight, but I'm also going to equip the Iron Shackle, which I got from the prison cell. And then we're also going to have a rematch with K Round. This fight's going to take a little bit less time than the one on the checkerboard, because we have a new strategy, which is throwing Rose at the crown. If I get 3 direct hits on the crown, which I have a kind of visual cue to set up doing pretty consistently, although hitboxes are kind of bad in this game, so it doesn't happen every time. But if I do it right, if I get 3 direct hits on the crown, which you can tell I got by that little, like, shine sound, I guess you could call it, then I get a 3-turn K round, and we're on to the end of the game. So right through here, right through the throne room, we're going to have a fight against the king. There are 2 strategies for the king. I'm going to be using the slightly slower yet easier one to pull off. We just have a cutscene here involving the king and how Lancer doesn't want us to fight. But the king really wants to fight. So once Lancer runs away, we're going to get into the fight. So my strategy, the one that I do, is going to just be to fight. Literally just press the fight button as much as possible. There's one exception to this, and this involves TP. I mentioned magic. You use that by getting TP. Well, I'm going to try and gear up to use a magic spell. Once Susie, which this happens in that one elevator, by the way, from a little while ago. Once Susie joins our party, quote, for real, we're allowed to use her magic. She has one spell that is called the Rude Buster. The Rude Buster is a fairly damaging attack, so I like to use it. That was not very good. So I'm trying to score critical hits as much as possible, while also using Rude Buster as long, like every turn that I'm over 50 TP. Also, for some reason, if I mash Z and enter, I can have Rude Buster deal more damage, which is a really weird property that is intended, but nobody knows why. Toby Fox is weird like that. I'm just gonna be basically railing on this guy until he falls. There is a way to pacifist do this boss, however, it is, like, much slower. So, I'm not gonna do the pacifist strat. Ideally here, on this fight, I'll get a 9 turn, so on the 9th turn, I'll get rid of this guy. Oh, that's a really hard strat to do, so my usual goal is to beat the fight within 10 turns, which right now, I'm about to get into the 9th turn, so if I somehow got it, which I doubt I did, we'll find out. Nope. That's probably, like, really dang close, though. Like, that was a pretty good king fight. There we go. That was less close than I thought it was. Alright, so that's the end of the king fight. He is going to go through a very long cutscene where he's going to pretend to be tired. And Ralze is a good child, so he's going to help. And the king is going to prank us. I hate that smile. So we're gonna have a long cutscene where we're gonna just be hit around like frickin' ragdolls. And then suddenly, Susie's gonna happen. The king is gonna quote a line from Susie that we skipped in the school, which is kind of like a big line in the game, and kind of mark Susie's turnaround as a character. And then she's gonna use the sleep spell, the pacify spell I mentioned that Ralze had, to make him fall asleep. So we're out of that conflict. And then stuff's gonna happen. And we're gonna leave. So we're gonna go back to the light world, which this is the dark world. And the light world is our home where I woke up in, and I was supposed to go to school, but you know, I went back to bed. Like a fool. Once we're done with this cutscene, I can move again, so I'm gonna run into this room. And we're going to have a cutscene again. We're gonna seal this fountain. That was been our goal the whole time, to seal the dark fountain. And we're gonna do that, to restore balance in the world. But we have a cutscene. This might be a gold king? No, it won't be. Yes, it is! By, like, 0.3. That was a good king fight. And now we're just gonna have an ending cutscene. So we're gonna hear all these weird sounds, and then wake up in the abandoned classroom. At school. We originally went into a janitor closet to find this place, but I skipped that. So we're going to have Susie talk to us for a little bit. Now that she doesn't hate me, I guess that's the story of the game. And we're gonna walk. We're gonna run. So now we just need to get home and go to bed to end the game. So the walk through the hometown, pretty simple walk. Just need to actually know where the home is, which fortunately I do. And my room is right up here, and again, as soon as I enter the bed, there we go. So that is, yeah, that's a speedrun of Deltarune, really. About as simple as it gets. Not a very difficult run, because a lot of the encounters that aren't skippable have very simple solutions. Not really luck-based is the thing. This game's not luck-based, like, basically at all. Even the attacks that the king does to us are 100% consistent, so I never really need to worry about luck in this run, which is pretty good, but at the same time, it can make things pretty hard to do quickly, because, you know, you really have to get used to this game. But yeah, that's my submission video for Deltarune, any % New Game Plus. I hope you enjoyed it. This bitch empty. Yeet!